Alright, how's everybody doing today? Back again with another review for you guys. And today we're going to do my full review of the Blue Studio Energy. Now I've been using this for roughly 2 weeks now. So I think I've grasped a good understanding of everything I want to cover. And so y'all already know how I feel. Once I cover everything I want to cover, then I get ready to wrap and shoot. So I just wrapped up all the little tests and stuff. So now it's time to shoot the full review. So here we go. Starting off, let's talk about the build quality in this guy. Now, I must say, it's fairly good build quality. Didn't drop it. Feels quite sturdy in the hand. And it feels quite substantial in the hand as well, and I think that has to do with the big 5,000 milliamp hour battery inside this guy, but we'll cover that more when we get to the battery section. But overall, I would say that the build quality is quite good. Now the back is removable and it is plastic, and they did try to go for like this faux chrome look with like painted gray, and I think it blends to the look of the device quite well. Sorry I didn't snap the back close all the way. I took the SIM card out so I don't get any annoying notifications. So that's what that is. But overall, I would say the build quality is quite nice. So it looks quite good. It feels good in the hand, and it doesn't slide around. So it's quite good. So the build quality here is good. Now, moving right along, let's talk about the display in this guy. Now this has a 5-inch IPS display, and it's a 720p display. So not full HD, but it is HD because it's 720p, and I believe the pixel density is, let me swipe over here real quick. Up, having trouble seeing that. The pixel density is about 320. Yeah, that's 320 DPI. So it's decent, and the screen, I must say, looks quite good. Now, not gonna have any issues with this screen. Now, when you keep the brightness low, I have it on auto right now, but when you keep the brightness low, it does tend to look a little cool or maybe washed out. But if you leave it on auto, it looks perfectly fine. Other than that, this is a pretty good display, if I must say so myself. So the screen is good. Now, moving along, let's talk about some of the hardware and software in this guy. So hardware wise, we're looking at 1 gig of RAM with 8 gigs of storage, and with micro SD expansion up to 64 gigs, I think it was. Software wise, we're running Android KitKat, I believe, and it's a really skinned up version of KitKat. As you can see, everything is skinned out. Now, some of this is good, some of this is bad, but for better or worse, Blue decided to skin it out, so there it is. Now they did add some useful features like the double tap to wake, and there are some camera features and things like that. But if you ask my opinion, guys, it's skinned a little bit too much for my liking, and I think that really takes away from the user experience. So if you ask me if I enjoy the software on this guy, I would have to say it works, but no. I've used a lot of phones now for a while, and I've really come to enjoy the stock Android experience. And you know, certain Blue phones, they have that. It's pretty close to stock, And then other blue phones, I guess they feel the need to like skin it out and add a whole bunch of extras. And it does have a ton of features. Here, like I already said, it has the double tap to wake. And then it has some off-screen gestures to launch the camera. And things like that. Here it is, smart gestures. So you have the double tap, and then you have the quick operations. And then you have the flip over to silence alarms. Now, just like with the Note 3 review, anything that I don't use, I just leave turned off. So as y'all can see, the only thing I have turned on right now is that double tap to wake. And on another note, it's kind of weird for you to have double tap to wake but not have double tap to sleep. But it is what it is. And now, software wise, as I said earlier, we're running KitKat here. It's skinned pretty heavily, but it is KitKat. I thought it would have a lollipop update, but the update that it did receive was for APNs and bug fixes, so it's still running KitKat. Now, is that a bad thing? I don't think so, because KitKat is a pretty solid version of Android. It's not the latest and the greatest, but it is a pretty solid version of Android. So, am I mad that they didn't upgrade it to Lollipop? No. Am I mad that it doesn't run Marshmallow? No. Because KitKat is pretty stable, and I can run all of my stuff with no issues. So, that's the software on this guy. Other note, they did add a guest mode in here. So you can, I think I took it down, but if you go to more in here, you can see they added a guest mode, so that's pretty nice. I don't use it, so I took it off, but it's there. And I think I already covered that in the previous video, but basically what it does, if you don't want people to have access to your stuff, but you want to let them use your phone real quick, you just turn on guest mode, give it to them, and it acts as though they just got the phone and they have to set up a little area and they can't really access much. But they can do what you need them to in some cases. Now, that's the software and the hardware in this guy. Now, let's talk about the glitches, stutters, and the crashes. Oh, and also, I forgot to bring it up, but it's running a 1.3 gigahertz quad-core processor. It's a MediaTek processor. Now, it's getting a little old now. It's getting a little old, but it runs fairly smooth. And it has a Mali 400 GPU, before I forget, because usually I forget and I remember right around where we're shooting the game, the gaming portion, so it's good that I remember that now. So now, back on track. Let's talk about the glitches, stutters, and crashes in this guy. Overall performance with this has been fairly smooth. Now, what I have noticed is that certain apps, I'm not sure why, but they crash, like Pandora crashes, and Amazon loads up a little weird, but this might be a little bit nitpicky, but those are apps that I use a lot, and for them to be crashing and acting weird, it kind of caught me by surprise. Now, is that a big deal? No, because I've still been able to use it. Like, I still can use my Amazon app. It just loads a little weird and it looks a little funny. And you can still technically use Pandora. It's just gonna crash after like a few songs. But that was weird to me. But that, other than that, that's pretty much the only glitches, stutters, and crashes that I've had here. Other than that, I just wanted to highlight something else, is that it seems to be using up a lot of the RAM for no reason. Like, even if I clear out the RAM, which is something I don't like to do, I like to let the phone sort itself out. So as y'all see, it's pretty maxed out right now, but I like to let the phone sort itself out. But on rare instances where I cleared out everything, as y'all can see, I got a lot of stuff open. On rare instances where I cleared out everything and rebooted the phone, and I was thinking, okay, it's not going to use that much. No, it jumped to straight using like 65% of the RAM with nothing running. And I think that has to contribute to the skin. They skinned it out a little bit too much on this one. So, yeah. But other than that, those two issues and that RAM gripe, the software has been fairly smooth, and no other glitches and stutters and crashes has happened in my usage of using the phone during the review period. Now, moving along, let's talk about the Wi-Fi in this guy. Now this has 802.11 BGNN, no AC, because they had to cut corners somewhere, but the Wi-Fi here runs really good, if I have to say so myself. Really good. Now real quick, before I show you guys an actual sample running Wi-Fi, I think we're going to load up a YouTube video. Here are some of the scores that I got on the Wi-Fi and off of the Wi-Fi. Now, data-wise, those are, but in actual usage, my phone worked no problem. So even though those are low scores for the data, in actual usage, didn't have any hiccups, any issues like that. Wi-Fi wise, those are decent scores for a phone that does not support dual band or AC. Those are pretty decent scores. So that's that. I just wanted to show y'all those numbers real quick. Now let's go ahead and load up a quick YouTube video here. Yeah. Shout out to Erica Griffin. I was watching this review earlier. Pretty good stuff. And let's find a quick video here. Something. Wow, you guys really like the unboxing of the H2s. Let's go ahead and load up a few seconds of that review then, and I'll let you guys hear it. So you got volume, up and down, and power. This also doubles as your pairing button if you hold it down. So that's right around 50. The plug for your auxiliary jack. So you can do it wirelessly or wired, it's up to you. And you can see right there, it's really made well. It can stream in 720p, so that's nice. It fit quite comfortably and it really works. Let's go ahead and load that up. That's that. And then, this is a little nice touch, but each air cup is labeled and branded. Probably was going for that stylish look, so it's better to have it hidden away. So they put it there. And then let me just crank up the speaker some. Time to charge. But that's the only real gripe I have with that. Alright, so overall, because you know, I used it straight through for a week, about 2 hours a day. So it really did last. Alright, so as y'all can see, a little hitch, and it did take a second or two to load, but it's no big deal. And the Wi-Fi was really very smooth. So that's that. Now let's move on here and let's talk about some of the bands that are in this guy. Now this has 2G, 3G, and HSPA. So the bands that are supported are, for GSM, you have 850, 900, 1800, 1900, and this is a dual SIM device, so those are those bands. For HSPA, you have 850, 1700, and 1900. Now there is another model of this phone, and that model is the D810L. I believe this is the D810U, but for the L model, you support bands 850, 1900, and 2100. So those are the bands that are in this guide. Now, and as I've said, I had no issues with data at all using this guy So, moving along, let's talk about the Bluetooth in here. Now, I believe this has Bluetooth 4.0, and I didn't have any issues with the Bluetooth. It hooked up perfectly fine to my Lot Fancies or my Hesh 2s. Didn't have any issues. Let me just cut it on real quick so you can see. It doesn't really show my Lot Fancies because I took that one off, but it hooked up no problem to the Hesh 2s. And I didn't have any issues with the Bluetooth in this phone at all. Now, it's not going to find it because it's off right now, but I just wanted you guys to see that. Now, moving right along, let me just turn that back off real quick, guys. Sorry. Conserve some battery here. Moving right along, let's talk about the GPS in this guy. And I must say, whoops, push the wrong button. For a pretty decent price, the GPS in this is quite good. Quite good. I don't want to be very repetitive, but y'all know I'm not too directional savvy, so the GPS in the phone has to be really good, has to be really good in order for me to decide whether or not to keep it in my pocket. And this GPS is pretty good. It's really good. Didn't have any issues with it. Didn't have any drops. It locked on fairly quickly. As a matter of fact, I think I took a screenshot of the GPS test here. There it is. It locked on fairly quickly. Now, would I have liked for the strength to be a little bit stronger? Yes. But for the speed at which it locked on and the fact that it didn't actually drop, I would say it was pretty good. So the GPS in here is pretty good. Now, moving along, let's talk about the call quality and speaker quality in this guy. So, as y'all know, because I've said it before, I use this guy on T-Mobile. T-Mobile is the main carrier that I use. Now, I have friends on pretty much all of the major carriers except for Sprint. I don't have too many friends that have Sprint. So, I was able to try and test this on a few things, but my main carrier is T-Mobile, and where T-Mobile is concerned, didn't have any issues with the data. The call quality was quite good. I heard everybody crisp and clear, and they heard me no problems. And I must say, speaker calls with this guy were pretty good. They were pretty good. And didn't have any crackling or anything. Now, one downside to this is that the speaker is on the back. And y'all already know backfiring speakers, okay. But if you had to put a speaker anywhere, we'll prefer that it be on the bottom or on the front. Now, for what it is a pretty good speaker. And y'all just saw in the Wi-Fi test that it gets quite loud. But on actual speaker calls, it's pretty damn good, guys. I don't know what to say. It's pretty damn good. Didn't have any issues with it. So, that's that. Now, moving along, let's talk about the cameras in this guy. And I must say, the rear firing camera here is 8 megapixels. And you have your LED flash and your mic there. And then your front firing camera, right up there, is a 2 megapixel camera. And both of these, let me not say that. The rear firing one shoots in 1080p at 30 frames per second. The front one, I'm not too sure about. But, here we go. Let's first talk about the camera interface. And I'm not going to say too much because this camera interface is very similar to some of the other Blue phones that I've covered. So you have it's pretty basic. Then you have all your features and things across the top, your settings, your modes, all that good stuff. And right now I have it set to 8 megapixels. So let me just go in here and show you guys real fast. And this is how it was out of the box. Actually, this is the front facing camera, and this is how it was out of the box. I didn't really touch anything aside from changing that megapixel size, because sometimes out of the box they don't give you the full megapixels, and I want to shoot videos and photos with the full megapixels. So as you see in the front there, it's 2 megapixels, and then right here, I think I clicked the wrong one. This is 8 megapixels right there. Let that focus up real good. I'm sorry if it's a little bright. Matter of fact, let me turn the brightness down. Actually, let me get out of the camera first and turn the brightness down. Do it like that. Take it off of auto here and just crank it to like right there. Okay, that should do. Yep, good. Now, going back into the camera here. So, it's fairly basic, and you do have your modes, and you have your HDR and all that good stuff. Now, that's pretty much all I want to cover on the camera. Let's get into some photo and video samples. Right here, let's check out this sample of the front-facing camera for video. Alright. Alright, so I have another video test for you guys here today. This is the front-facing camera on the Blue Studio Energy. And I think this is supposed to be 2 megapixels. And this doesn't look too bad, actually. So, it kind of looks like my lips can't keep up with the video. But other than that, it doesn't look too bad. Yeah. So, it will... Alright, so that was the front-facing camera there. And now let's take a look at the rear. Alright guys, so we have here today is a video test of the 8 megapixel camera. Do it this way. On the Blue Studio Energy. And I think this is recording in 1080p at 30 frames per second. And this is an 8 megapixel shooter. And it's kind of an overcast day, so it's kind of cloudy. And looks like the exposure is doing decent. And I wonder how it's gonna sound, because I have a very stuffy... Alright, so that was video for the rear-facing 8 megapixel camera. And you can see it did alright. Now my camera having a little bit of issues with the exposure, but it did alright. And the exposure in the video was decent. Moving along, here's some low light shots here. Kind of blew out my room light in the back. And here's my nephew's dog. Once again, it did the same thing. So you're really gonna have to fight for some good lighting if you want to take a decent picture, but that one didn't turn out too bad. Now I just think that's my camera kind of messing with the exposure a little bit. Let me see. Yeah, that would be my camera messing with the exposure. But the actual photo samples didn't turn out too bad at all. And then this one actually turned out pretty good, but my camera's kind of like washing it out a little bit. Not sure why, but that one came out pretty good. So, all in all, I would say that it's pretty decent camera. You're going to need some pretty good lighting to get a really good shot, but you can do it. So, the cameras on this guy are decent. So, moving along. Now, let's talk about some of the games that I tested on this guy. Might just give y'all a sample. So, kind of getting tired playing a lot of games, guys. Been doing a lot of phones and a lot of headphones, playing a lot of games, so I just went with these two. So I just tested Asphalt 8 and Fruit Ninja, and it played these quite well. As a matter of fact, let me just load up Asphalt 8 here for you guys. and we'll play a few seconds. And I must say, with this big battery, I kind of really got into this game and played this game a lot more than I usually would. And the phone handled it like a champ. Didn't stutter, didn't hiccup, didn't crash. So, and I didn't adjust any settings. I just adjust my controls, and I left it how it was out of the box here. So let's go ahead and line something up real fast, and we'll play a little bit. When you get free stuff, you always mess with the ads. Mess with the ads there, boss. I might need to clean my camera lens. That might be why it's so glossy. But, it's okay. I'll do that after the video. So as you can see, it did take a little bit of time to load up. And it should be coming any second now. There it goes. Now let's just play a little bit of this so y'all enjoy. Alright, so as y'all seen right there, it played that pretty much no problem. So pretty much, seeing as it could play that, and that's pretty heavy, I don't think you have any issues with any other games you try to play. Now, moving on, let's talk about the benchmarks in this guy. And I must say, it benchmarked pretty much how I was expecting it to. But since I like showing you guys the numbers, you know I had to do it because I just like seeing the numbers. So this was the Valemo metal test, and you can see it scored a 760. Now, and it's way down there, guys, which is pretty much what you would expect. A lot of these higher phones out here these days, scoring pretty well. And then this was the multi-core test, pretty much in the same spot. Decent scores, 1224. And let's see, what else? It was way down there on Antutu, but it's a pretty good score. And I mean, for what it went up against, that's pretty good. And y'all have seen just through the video that the scores absolutely mean nothing. If you balance the right balance of software and hardware, get a smooth user interface, user experience, my bad, then you're going to have a good device no matter what. And this Geekbench 3. So, yeah. And quadrant. And just so y'all saw that, that's what it was on the quadrant score, in case y'all didn't see that. And last but not least, 3D Mark. Now, yeah, did alright. So those are the benchmarks. Alright, moving right along. Hey, what do you know? We're getting close to the end. Let's talk about the battery life in this guy. And now, here's one thing where I say that this phone is great. This phone is phenomenal. The battery life in this guy was like crazy good. Crazy good. Let me see. I did take some screenshots of some results I got here. So, this was light use. Because believe it or not, I did actually squeeze out a light use day. I didn't think I can do it, but I did it. Let it focus up there. So the screen was on 8% of the time, and I got just over 2 days. And I must say, and it was still crazy to me because I still got 7 hours of screen on time, guys. That was the weird part. And I wasn't pushing the phone at all. And then this was, where's it at? Did I push it down? This was a more heavier frame. And you see, and then I still got the same 7 hours. So the battery on this guy is great. And pretty much, no matter what you do, I can pretty much guarantee you're going to get through the day no problem. And those were just 2 of the 3 scenarios I like to use. So one of those was a light use scenario, and one of those was a probably moderate to heavy. And as you can see, I cleared 1 day no problem. So the battery on this guy isn't going to give you any issues. Now, there was one problem I had with the battery out of the box, and I guess this is something to be wary of when you pick up used devices with non-removable batteries. And that is, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't charge this guy to 100%. So the battery things that I got were kind of affected ever so slightly because of that. And I actually did 2 factory resets